Much, Peter. How is this? Is this audible? Simon, is it audible? Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, Nick, it's okay. Josie, it's okay. So, if somebody in back of me can take a picture on the camera on the cell phone, this is my idea of heaven. Just having my friends in the room, and you know, having poetry at the center of things. It just feels paradise. That's it. So I want to say a word about bookstores because we're all so much online, and Bob and I were online for like he was teaching, but I was online for 6 hours today. We really need them, and we need them not just because the haptic object is precious and beautiful, but because of this, you know, bodies, shapes of bodies in rooms next to books. And so, you know, it seems really important, like every time you come into a bookstore, and do come in more often, to just buy a card, even if you have a lot of books, or buy a t-shirt or something, but also buy the books. And it's just my great pleasure to have worked here for 10 years. And I had a baby that I brought, and I brought her and put her under the counter and, you know, wrote up people's. In those days, we did everything on paper, so we had little cards to catalog the books. And so one of the dedication elements in this book is to bookstores and to Christina and Karen, who I've known for almost 40 years. And I also want to thank Bill McClung, who's provided wine this evening. And so I'm just so grateful to the bookstore. I also want to thank Wesleyan and Jeff Clark for doing this beautiful book, and my many friends from the community, the poetry community, and St. Mary's. My students, many of my students are here, past, present, and I'm just deeply, deeply grateful. Also for my graduate student helpers who literally helped, you know, with some of the production work of this book. So I also want to thank Jeffrey O'Brien, who's reading in Chicago tonight with Graham Faust, who's a friend and former colleague, and he was one of the first readers. My friend Francis Lerner, and my beloved Bob, who's here, right next to me on the left. So many friends and family helped and put up with me while I was working on this. I was saying earlier to a friend that it's not just a book, you know, another book. It's the completion of this. One friend called it a quadrilogy. It's a group of 4 books. I started in 1998 thinking about how to represent or address nature in a sort of postmodernist way that would accommodate to experimental writing technique. And when I started working on Cascadia, it seemed really challenging to think about how to bring the Romantic tradition in, you know, maybe into all the idiom of you know, broken syntax and fragment and the kinds of experimental technique that I was really interested in intellectually in the 80s. And I was inspired by a number of writers to try to bring these two together, kinds of things together. Gary Snyder, you know, on the one hand, and then, you know, the women's experimental writing community, Norma Cole is here, and just thinking about how to actually bring materiality and the kind of emotionality into relationship, and also bring ecological subject matter. About this book, I just wanted to say I was really sick of human beings when I started it. You know, just since, you know, the Iraq War and working on the water book, I felt so damaged by the wars and the efforts to make people be smarter and not idiots, and to try to think about the earth and how what's happened. And so Bob and I were driving one day up down the coast, and we saw a field of pumpkins, and I was sort of shocked to think they don't need us, and they have nothing to do with me, and it felt like an immense moment of huge relief. And I felt this whole book just kind of bloom in like 20 seconds. And then, of course, it took 5 years to write it. But I did feel like there's just so much stuff besides the human that it's such a great relief. So I'm going to read for, like 12 minutes or so, and just try to give you like a speed read of this book. To spirits of fire after harvest. Between earth and its noun, I felt a fire. What does it mean by I, Mrs.? It means, and I quote, one of the vowels in the brain and some of the U's. We were interested in the type of thing humans can't know, interested in kinds of think animals think, a rabbit or a skink, you Mrs. Skeletonianus, when autumn brings a grammar. Wasps circle the dry stalks, and you can totally see through amber ankles dangling in dazzle under our Lord, the Son of Literature. Between noon and its noun, there were ridged and golden runes on pumpkins, bluish gourds in the fields, their white eyes lined up inside. Wait a sec. Please don't nail the door shut. The air is friendly and non-existent as Veronica's veil. Earth, don't torment your fool, your ambassador clown. Bring the X of oxygen and sex, a fox running sideways through present noon. Something has been reading the fire roots. Crow's eyebrows. The termites have hastily married. Soon they'll drop veined wings till their vows are outside. In the woods, a shaman moment tries a cure. Pleiades of sun, a thrush, Catharas gutatus brings spots to you, a seedful anarchist. The magics are merging. Lambs swell in the bellies of ewes. The great dead approach, famished for winter berries. What is the enigma you carry halfway to Equinox, your soul feeling his own princely skin in the back seat? Origins of expression, in the caves, the fury of nations, the handmade stars of lovers' cries, the abstract stroke. Stop telling us what to do, Indo-European languages. Everything has been eating the fire roots. Its fluffy hatchlings scratch along. It says to itself, we are on loan from the seamless realm. In the pledge, ... In the syllable of the clause, you're just making that up. Am not, R2, am not. Equinox Ritual with ravens and pines. So he said to the somewhat, be born, and the shadow kept arriving in segments. Cold currents pushed minerals up from the seafloor, up through the coral and labels of Diet Coke blame-shame bottles down there. It is so much work to appear. Unreadable zeros drop lamps as mustard feels, brassica rapa, gold without hinges, a vital echo of caring. On the census, just right, it exists. Blue Wednesday bells strike the air like forks on a thrift store plate, and the shadow moves off to the side. In the woods, loved ones tramp through the high grass. They wait in a circle for the fire to appear. They throw paper dreams and sins upon the pyre and kiss, stoking the first hesitant flame after touching a match with bad news. Branches are thrust back across myths before the flame catches. Ravens lurch through double-knuckled pines and the oaks and the otherwise. A snake slithers over serpentine, then down to the first dark, where every cry has sighs. So the book covers 4 years of seasons. So I'm speeding through the seasons. You know, California has like 56 seasons. Previous dawn in the next field. Goodness, your pockets loaded with fallen plums. You walk like a pregnant grandmother. A rabbit runs under the vine, its ears like the L's in Hillman. Earth spirits stand by. They've come from the classics. A spiral of nothing is pierced by its own axis. The sky spins around a field of chicory, shadows Silverado, some sticks in the road. Line, 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 line. As if a spoiled emperor had thrown his bed into the amphitheater. In the hills, workers and owners wake with opposite terrors. Tiny flies skim the grout in short white houses. Each moment is a crowd. Why so angry? Your enemy was anxious and has moved away. She's forgotten even the hem of your dress. At least, can you drive less? At least don't eat at the barbecue. Between the souls and the meteors. The ancestors turn in the sycamore, leaves like hunched over squirrels. A freeze might take the lemon tree, that thing of dozing over a book, the writer just God powder now. Miles up, sparks dragged through meteors. Miles down, creatures eat rock mixed with fire. Someone prays for you even if you don't like it. Our suicides sleep in the mind of a word. We want our mother not to have suffered. Moonbeams snake where the tan oak shivers. We want our father not to have suffered, or the 3 cats sprinkled with western dawn. The little baby sleeps on his side, his dream face turned to the woods. A fox sleeps with its mouth of color, and the O in your head, the damaged vowel, where the skin rises to meet the wound. What does that spell? I don't know, since it got to go on living. But seems like basically it's kind of a combination. Everything means everything, plus there is no hidden meaning. I talked to my parents before we came over, and they're in upstate New York. My mom's about to turn 89, and my dad is 90, and my mother said, I'm so glad, dear, that you've found a way to express yourself through poetry. The dearest thing. Oh. So, yeah. My mother and I are translating poetry from Brazil, from a Brazilian poet, and on the miracle of nameless feeling. This is for friends who were married a few years ago. They struggled at sunset and moonrise. They struggled at sunrise, then not. It is best to be the calm one, a diadem. Over their heads the galaxies whirled. Fire so hot the sun could not relate, then putting all that away. They've brought passion and exhaustion to the wedding. Lists are finished, abstraction and realism, details repeated as in airport carpet. Sometimes passion will sustain them, or an interest in certain problems. Sometimes in the night they'll describe the nameless feeling. Nations praise peace, but the miracle is food, not just for the human, for the owl, the mouse. And now they stand as a lighthouse stands on granite, capped in cloud. It's unbearable how often the sun goes down, but the next day is a ship of numbers set on fire. Their love was nothing, then was almost everything. The named and the nameless dream with them there. So I'll read about 3 more poems, I think, or 3 or 4. Let's see. This is another very autumnal one. I know some children started school yesterday. My little grandson is in a new room, and he was noting that it was hard to be in a new room with different children. The letters learn to breathe twice. When the danger of fire has passed, the children, even when wanting to text, form letters with pencils, tracing gray skin around the unsayable, while geese honk overhead, in their wedge of funny adults. The children try to be normal, though no one knows what normal is. In nearby gardens, the unwanted dandelion, Taraxacum officinale, a large squash, prepares for harvest, its S-shaped stem with moisture bent. Children braid languages, and some are praised for confidence, but who praises the garden for all that breath? The cheerful, mild, constant anxiety of your childhood turned to writing. Then meaning came with its invisible glare. The page had borders but no limit, and you loved letters then. Their breath allowed not to decide as it curved between skin bearer and the being said. And I'm going to read a poem from Occupy Cal. I just want to say a moment, hats off to, I have a number of activist friends here, not just poet friends, but poet activist friends, and people who, particularly put their lives on the line. And Cynthia Papermaster, my friend who from Code Pink, who has been doing a fast to express solidarity with the Guantanamo prisoners. And I mean, I just can't say enough for the personal courage that it takes to do that and to actually be in relation to your beliefs with your body. And so thank you all activists here too. Bob and I were across the street at Sproul when the Occupy Cal on November 9th was happening. So this is a poem, it's a prose poem from there. A brutal encounter recollected in tranquility. Of course, the line is from Wordsworth. Not the brutal part. There is a space of uncertainty in every act, even standing before police in riot gear. Looking into their eyes, we think it's possible to reach them. We reach out with my feelers. The crowd presses in. The night is exactly the age of our students. What will be called batons, nightsticks, or truncheons, clubs, are certain in the angle of the hitting. Looking into the eyes of the officers when they start moving to clear the bit of ground, we know the point is lost. The evening news reports resistance to officers, but not to bad money. Looking into their eyes, trained not to meet other eyes, amber spokes around each pupil, we think they are scared, but not scared enough, and some probably have children in public schools. What should we do with the lost point? Euclid notes that geometry begins from a point that has no part. Peaceful protest as they move forward. A student resists and is beaten. Our feet no longer touch earth, but connect with other feet underground. Will defending the tents bring down bad money? I distrust moral certainty, and even distrust the sentence, I distrust moral certainty. I admire the anti-heroic line of ants. I admire the unknown. Looking the cops in the eye is not the point, nor is fighting about the state budget the point. Nor is the point waking up in jail to pay for a decade that was asleep. The point moves with other points in beauty and justice because we cannot see the whole. A group can be mystical or a mob. The point moves during the hitting that moves when the body stands or lies. 2 feet make 2 points, and that is how a line is drawn. Sometimes I'm sick of humans, except for babies, poets, and the ones I love. As we stand outside loving each other, we cannot forget the ants under us making smart corridors in the wet ground, even the lines under the chancellor's house, seeking sweets at all hours, finding friends who are exceptions, whose actions make a line. If ants fail, they begin again. When the officers use their nightsticks, truncheons, batons on your ribs, we are knocked back. But students have it much worse. They're dead. They take blows in a line on the earth. You cannot be sure you won't fight back until your friends are in danger. The cops have put hitting behind that feeling. Had I been able to stop the officer's nightstick by grabbing it, I would have, but I'm not stupid, a smallish grandmother versus them, and I did not believe grabbing their sticks would work out. Don't hit, I was telling the baby earlier. There are many theories about violence, but when people rise up, it is mostly unplanned. Use your heads, we shout naively at the cops. We won't be a better person until schools are free, but the nightstick cannot poke our soul. Oh no, that nightstick cannot poke the soul. More students are beaten. We cannot stop it. We are close enough to see our feelers in their badges and the numbers, a bit of bronze and silver in our compound eyes. We have taken an experiment outdoors. Our writing accommodates uncertainty, but most people prefer certainty, which is why writers become depressed. Later, the place where the police put their truncheons hurt when we make love, and we will make love outside of time. Go home to your families, we naively shout, and try to study the badges in our section. Later, we recall one of the cops was named Young, and another was called Heart. Euclid says non-existent points can make a line we all agree exists. Your writing offers recovery from non-existence, and one cure for depression is action. Writing may be your most necessary action, but it can't be the only one. If you find yourself on the dirt with feelers, it is good to get back underground. The ants reach other ants at the edge of the lawn. They pass the message along. And I'll read the last poem in the book, and I've given you the little tour. And wasn't it cool and ironic and great that the fire trucks passed? Yeah. See, things just work out. And also, Larry Ruth was reminding me to mention the Rimfire, which we all, we're just in awe of, how to be in relationship to the nature, so-called nature that we think we've tried to tame. And there we are, vastly in the vastness. So thank you so much for coming. You're just great to see everyone. In the evening of the search. Vastness of dusk after a day. What is a person? Too late to ask this now. The court has ruled a corporation is a person. Persons used to be called souls. On the avenue, a lucky person stands in a convenience store scratching powder from his ticket. Silver flecks fall from his thumbs to galaxies below. Deep in the night, a trough of chaos forms. Your lover's body stops it every time. Meteors of the season over minnows in the creek, with two kinds of crayfish, tiny mouths and claws, nervous, perfect life. The flesh of a dreamer facing the wall. Around each word you're reading, there spins the unknowable flame. When you wake, a style of world shakes free from the dream. It doesn't stop when you go out. It doesn't stop when you come back as you were meant to. Thank you.